All right, everybody. When last we left our heroes, they were trying to pick up different health attributes, and now we're going to be working on including those things into the HUD. But first, we're going to start off with points. That's just mostly because not everybody uses health all the time, so we wanted to start applying points. And if you can start to figure out how the points work, you can understand how the health is working if you wanted to work ahead. So to start off with, we need something to award points. We're going to go back into our interactable items folder here. I'm going to make a new blueprint class. It's going to be another actor, and it's going to be a coin. It's basically going to be a coin. Call it BP underscore coin. We're going to add in a cylinder, and that cylinder I'm going to shrink down to look a lot like a coin. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip that thing over. That looks about right there. Let's see. Let's do -90. That looks a little bit better. I'm going to want a collider on this one, so let's do sphere collision. I'm going to go ahead and put sphere collider underneath that, and then the cylinder itself, I want to pick that up so it's up off the scene root there. There we go. I want that to look like it's floating a little bit. Okay, it's going to be a pretty big coin. Something that looks orange or yellow is what I'm looking for. I think we have a yellow, flat yellow. So we could just go with that. Okay, yeah, that'll work. That's fine. And let's add something that looks a little more iconic as far as the look of something that's going to give you some points. Oops, wrong one. I'm going to grab the sphere. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to add some rotating movement. So I'm going to go back up here, rotating movement. There we go. And pretty much we can just leave that as is. We don't have to do anything crazy. Let's go ahead and drop these in the level and see how they look. Okay, let's put a few right here. So main thing here is going to be wanting to put a few together. So all I'm doing is hitting Alt and dragging, and they're making copies here. Okay, let's see, we got one there, and we'll go ahead and pull one back there. Let's get one more. There we go. All right, so on this one, we're going to make a new blueprint interface. We're going to make one for just points. Okay, so we've got our one right here for adjusting the health. Now we could have one interface that handles all these things, but not everything's going to award points. Not everything is going to adjust the health. So it's a good idea to have these as two separate blueprint interfaces. So we'll go ahead to blueprint. We're going to go to the blueprint interface. This one's going to be called BPI, and we'll just call it, well, how about reward points? Well, I guess you could reward negatively, maybe. I'll just call it points. There we go. All right, for this one, same idea. We're going to award points. I'm going to call it that. Why not? Well, similar to what we did with our health, we're just going to go in here to the outputs, hit the plus, and this one's going to be called points awarded. And this one's going to be an integer because we don't have to worry about any kind of percentages or anything like that. So we'll just leave it as integer, compile, and we are just about ready to get going here. So let's go to our coin. Just like our health and our damage, we want to add this interface in. So we're going to go to class settings, go to implemented interfaces, and we're going to go to BPI points. Okay, hit compile, and we're going to make a new variable here, points awarded. There we go. And this needs to be an integer. Compile that. Let's see here. We're going to go to awarded points for our variable right here. We're going to get that, drag that in, and let's see, points awarded. Let's say we'll give them 10 points for every coin that they pick up. Go ahead and hit compile. And let's go back over to our third person character. Now, on this one, we can check for various implemented interfaces. So what we can do from here is, if it's not true, so let's just kind of tighten all this up here a little bit. Pick this up here. And this is if that does use that interface. If it doesn't use that interface, then what we want to do is check against a different one. We're going to pull off that other actor again, and we're going to do does implement interface, does object implement interface. This time it's going to be looking for BPI underscore points. There we go. Same thing again, branch. Does it use it? We want to make sure it is actually using the one we're looking for. Okay, off the false we go here. And similar to what we have up here, we're going to have something that's keeping track of our points. So we're going to go right here, and we're going to do points. Well, you know what? There might actually be a better way to do this. What would probably be even better is if we save this information into a player state, so it can carry it on with us through different levels. So let's go back to our content drawer. In this case, this one's going to be a part of the couch co-op setup. So let's go over here. We're going to go to blueprint class, and we're going to do player state. Okay, here's player state right here. Now, if you remember, player state is something that we use to maintain our character in our side-scrolling project so that they were able to hold on to information after respawning. So in this case, we're going to do ps underscore cc. It's going to be player state and couch co-op. Yeah. Okay, now that we have the player state, we're going to go ahead and double click on it, opening it up. And a lot of what we're going to be doing inside of a player state is going to be building functions and things like that to keep track of different pieces of information. There's not really going to be anything in the viewport to really worry about. So let's go over here to our event graph. Let's see here. Actually, really it's going to be more of making a function over here. So let's go here and we're going to make a new function. Let's call that just a word point. So I'm trying to think of something fun and different, but let's just stick with what works. Word points. Okay. And this is going to need a an output on here. So, or actually, so we're starting right here. This is going to be an input. So this is going to be, just call it points, and we're going to make that an integer. Okay. And then we're also going to need a variable right here. Now, you have to keep in mind, the player state that we're seeing right here is actually a particular player state for that actual player. So this is keeping track of this for that particular player. Okay. So what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to make a points variable. This needs to be an integer as well. Okay, cool. Compile that. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to take the points from here and we're going to add them onto our current points. So we're going to do a plus, we'll add that in. We'll take whatever current points we have. This is where the points total is being held onto. In fact, that might even be good to just change it to total points or total current points. How about, yeah, total current points. There we go. That makes things a little bit easier to keep track of. These are the points flowing in. This is the total current points that we have. And then we're going to want to set that. So we'll run that into there. And everything's going to start off as a 0. So total current points, as far as after we compile it, the default amount, see all the way here at the bottom, 0. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And the next thing we're going to want to do is apply it to our HUD. Now, what we're going to do to apply this to our HUD is we're going to use an event dispatcher. Okay, so we haven't used those in a little bit, but you're probably very familiar with them. We're going to go right down here. This one's going to be, this is going to update points whenever something happens. So let's call this when points update. Okay, and we're just going to call this in here. Here we go. Now, one thing about this is we're going to need to send some information with this event dispatcher. So we're going to need to compile it, and we need to add some inputs to this. So I'm going to click on the event dispatcher, and I'm going to go up here to the input. I'm going to make a new one. This is going to be total current points. Okay, that's an integer, and that's going to be this amount, right? Whoops, it's not updated. Let me go ahead and compile that. Okay, and since it's giving me an error, we're just going to right click here, refresh the node. Now we're seeing total current points. And as far as our player state, that's pretty much it. So compile. This is just like almost another type of interface, really, at this point. Okay, so next thing we want to be able to do is use the player state. So let's go back to our level right here. We want to go to our details. Let's drag that out. And we're looking at, actually, I think we're looking at we need our world settings. So let me pop this back in. We're not seeing it right now. So let's go up to window. We're going to go to world partition, world settings. There we are. There's our world settings. And currently our player state is just a player state. I'm going to change it over to PSCC. So now we're actually using the thing that we're going to keep track of stuff with. Okay, so back in our third person player, we originally had it set up so it's checking for our health, then it's checking for our points if there's nothing to do with health. But actually, if it does have health, it might also have points. So right off this print string right here, which currently we just have it running to a print string, we want to loop this right back into our branch. Actually, no, I think I might actually want this to go into a, well, yeah, this is true. Yeah, absolutely. No, this is where we want it to go. Into this true right here. And we're going to work with our points again, just kind of like what we did with this message up here. We haven't implemented on our third person character. We haven't implemented that interface yet. So need to go back up here to our class settings. We're going to look for our interfaces, BPI, and there's points. Okay, so now we have our awarded points. Off true, we're going to do points, award points message. That's the one we're looking for. And just like before, we want to get that reference for the actor. We're going to run it right into there. Okay. And okay, so here's where we're going to actually need to implement our player state here. So still on the character, I'm going to grab all of this and pull it over here to the side. I'm not really a basic character. Yeah, I'm going to just get rid of that. Pull this off to the side because now what we really need is an event begin play, which it doesn't look like is being used currently. So that makes things easier for us. We're going to want to get a reference to the player state. So I'm going to right click in here, event begin play. Okay, so for this, yeah, we actually do have to cast ourselves over to a player state. So from here, we're going to cast to ps_cc. There we go. And to get the object information that we're going to need from this, I'm going to pull this up a little more. There we go. And off the object, we're going to get player state. I might be able to do this from this direction. Let's see. No, I think I'm gonna have to do it from the other direction. So first off, we got to get the controller. Get controller. Okay. There we go. And then from here, we can get player state. There we go. That's the one. Okay. So we're going to turn this into a reference that we can go back to regularly. So we're going to right click here and we're going to go to promote to variable and we'll just do player state ref. There we go. And now we have this to be able to use whenever we need it. Okay, so what we're going to want to do now is we got to bring in the award points part of the player state. So we're here, we got a reference. So let's go back to our space over here where we're actually awarding points. And let's grab that reference to that player state. Okay, and from here, we're going to do, I believe we called it award points. Yep, there it is right there, award points. And we'll connect these up, and then points awarded is going to go to our points here. So that ties up pretty nicely. All right, so now we're just going to need to go over to our player card and start using these points. So let's pop over to our player card. We're going to have that inside of our couch co-op, CC HUD, and there's our player card. So what we're going to be working with here is the part on event construct. So this means that this player card is basically getting built whenever someone hits start, and it's going to get all the player index, and it's going to make all this happen as soon as we have this on possessed pawn change here kind of set up. So what we want to do is we're going to cast to our player state, because that's what's really sending all this information over. As far as the object goes, we need that to be our assign controller. We've already got that right here. So from assign controller, we're going to get the player state, get player state. There we go. Gonna hook that up right there, and we want to make this a reference for ourselves. So we'll just do player state ref, so we can come back to that later if we need to. And let's go take a look at that player state real quick. The event dispatcher we called was win points update. So we're going to do a bind here. So we'll do bind. Whoop. I kind of wish those messages would get out of the way. Bind event to, what did he call that again? Win points update. Yep, that's right. Bind win points update. There we go. And we want this to be our target. So we just drag that over. Now, this is a little bit different. It's not creating a custom event. We're going to be creating an event. So like this makes it as soon as this gets initiated. So we're going to drag off of this. We'll do create event. Whoops. There we go. And we're going to go to this little drop down. We're going to do create a matching event right there. Okay. So this one's going to be called, let's call it, let's see, what should that be called? How about just points updated, update. Oh, that's easy enough. And what we'll do from here, we've already got total current points. That's just going to update through our text. So we'll need to convert this into an integer. So we'll do to text. This is going to be an integer. And we can see all this here. Minimum integral digits, what that really means here as far as understanding how this works. Go out to the designer real quick. You can see on our vertical box on our numbers right here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I wanted to maintain all those 6 digits at least, what I can do is specify right here that the minimum digits would be 6 instead of just 1. Well, you can see here we can go out to 324 individual digit placements on the maximum integral digits. So that's all that's doing right there. I'll just leave it as 1 for right now. Actually, we'll just leave it as 1. All right, then we're going to grab our text score right there. We'll drag it out. Target is text. Well, set text. That's what it is. Right there. And we'll run the execution pin over, and we'll connect this, and that should be essentially it. Okay, let's go ahead and check this out, see how we do. All right, so we got our character in here, and well, nothing's happening. Okay, so easy fix for that one. Let's go take a look at a couple things real quick, and this error right here will kind of give us an idea of what's happening. So this is saying it's access none trying to read real property player state ref. So what that's making me think is that as these things come into the game, as they are created in the game mode gets spawned, the game mode starts making the controllers stay active to be able to spawn the player. So we're probably asking for something that hasn't been made yet, more than often than not. So one thing I want to check first, I want to go to my coin, and we've got our collider right here that's checking to see that we're running into that, so it's destroying the actor. As far as award points is concerned, it has all that. Okay, so that's all fine. Looks like that should be updating, and where I want to be is on my blueprint third-person character, and right over here where we originally got our reference to our player state. Since we may not have it right whenever the HUD is needing it or whenever the player state's needing it, we'll just do a little bit of a delay. Okay, so we'll delay there. Just 0.2 seconds should be enough for us. Let's go back into this, hit play, and we'll drop our character in, and let's see, 1, 10, 20, 30. Okay, cool. And now notice we didn't change it to have 6 on there like how it starts off. So as soon as it starts accruing points, it drops down to its base minimum, which was 1 there, one digit. So that's fine if that's what you want, or you can change it over to 6 if you really wanted to. If we wanted to go in here on our player card and change this over to 6, it would maintain everything that's out there if you want to just have that look of everything. So as you can see here, it's giving each person exactly what they're supposed to be getting. In this case, the red lady's going to be upset because she only got 1, but she got 10 right there. Okay, so that's how to get yourself set up with all these different little pieces and start to get your HUD working in your game.